to just talk for a minute. I have been traveling for over a week now, and I'm worn out. It's been a lot of airplane rides. I flew from Los Angeles out to Boston, and then from Boston down to Raleigh, North Carolina. And then I drove to Fayetteville, never been there before. Stayed there for a couple days, and then I was up in Boston for about 4 days. And then I drove back to Raleigh, and then I flew to Atlanta for a layover, and then I flew back to Orange County. So I've been on planes too long. I needed to get down here to the beach. I wanted to come check it out. We must have had a pretty good storm here. You can see these aren't great surfing waves, but they're very choppy. But we got a bunch of waves, and then the sand is just missing. There's just a lot of sand missing, and they brought a lot of sand in here to reclaim this. So it must have been a pretty good storm while I was missing. Anyway, we're going to talk about gold and silver today, and we're going to talk about what's going on in the headlines as well. So we've got a little bit to talk about Ukraine. We've got a little bit to talk about the strategic crypto reserve that was discussed on Sunday and saw huge prices, and then we saw big crashes and falls today. So we're going to talk about tariffs too. It looks like that is one of the things that has been messing with the markets. And one of the reasons we're going to talk about it right now is because I'm going for a walk. I needed some fresh air. And the other reason to talk about it is a lot of people are trying to figure out, do I buy more, do I sell? What do I do? So here's what I'd love for you guys to do. Hit that thumbs up. You just double tap the screen right here. And that will give a thumbs up to wake up the algorithm. Let them know that this is going live. And YouTube will show it to more people. And I'm going to walk down here to the pier. And we'll take a quick little walk on it if the signal stays good. It looks like it's actually okay now. It might be a little blurry, but if you can't hear me or you can't see me, let me know. And then I'd love to hear any questions you guys have. So about current events that are going on right now as they relate to gold and silver. Maybe you've got some other investing questions. Go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll do my best to see those, okay? And if I can see them, then I'm going to answer them for you. So yeah, I'm coming from, this is San Clemente, California. We are dead center between Los Angeles and San Diego on the coast. And it's a great place. I know a lot of people like to complain about Southern California or just California in general. Usually the people that are complaining, they're feeling the financial burden of California pretty heavily, or they're complaining about politics. And for whatever reason, this place here, the politics don't seem to be too much of an issue here. It's, if you're on the conservative side, this is a very conservative area. We had a lot of mask burning going on during the pandemic here. It's Nixon's home, and it's also the home of pretty much all the surfers and the skateboarders. This is where they call home, and where a lot of the organizations and surf shops come from. So it's a conservative area that also has a lot of respect for people and their preferences and everything else. But what you'll find here is a very welcoming area. And you'll find a lot of people that care deeply about the country and that care also about the environment too. But they don't go overboard on stuff. So, you know, we try to keep the beaches good and clean. And at the same time, a lot of people try to do what they can to help here. But it is expensive. So, I don't know. I'm always looking at it, trying to figure out if we're going to stay or not because of that expense. All right, so who do we got on here? I'm going to stop for a second. This is the clock tower behind me. So we've got Richard. Welcome. I'm not frozen. It's, I don't know. I got one coat on, short sleeve shirt, and some sweatpants that my wife would probably kill me if she knew I was wearing them out of the house. But I think we're like 60 degrees right now. Eli, how's it going? South Carolina. We've got Lakeland, Florida. We've got Kevin, welcome. Joey, I should say, Metals on the move. Yes, they're moving. Today is Kevin's birthday. Happy birthday, man. Dark Tales of Merlin, who's behind you? I don't know. Was there someone like stalking me maybe? Let's see. The beach trail kind of got blown up from all the mudslides. You can see all that problem right there. So a lot of people are just walking on the sand. They're probably just doing the same thing I'm doing. The guy in the black suit. Okay, now I know you people are full of crap. All right, let's see. Okay, let's talk about packages. So I'm going to show you guys a pretty cool package, some packages I got from Miles Franklin yesterday. Actually, they may have come in a few days ago. I landed yet last night. So they're heavy and they're sitting by the front doorstep, and my wife's like, I wonder what these are. And, you know, it says it comes from some kind of like, you know, metal parts company. Okay. So it sounds like it's just some parts for a house or something. Anyway, I'm going to open those up tomorrow. Andy's not going to be able to make it tomorrow. We will have him on next week on the 11th. But tomorrow I'm going to open up what I got from them, and we'll talk about that a little bit and why I picked those up. But we'll talk about what I'm doing as well. But a lot of people are talking about missing and things not making their way. Some of those people are mentioning this from metals that they're sending in to be sold to JM Bullion, for example. Nothing to do with JM Bullion, more to do with our wonderful USPS. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about my mailman and why I went and got a P.O. box. So we'll do that as well, okay? All right, I'm going to stop here to see what else you guys have here. I'm still stacking silver, but what are your thoughts on buying gold? My budget allows me to buy a 1/4 ounce, but the Liberty Head at it's a little less than a 1/4 ounce. 90% is about $70 cheaper. So yeah, I would buy that. Just make sure it's real. Have someone verify that for you. But I love pre-33 gold. If I have a chance to buy pre-33 gold over bullion, I do it every day. And what do I mean by that? If I can find it at the same price as bullion or lower, I think it's a good buy. And I'm talking the exact same price, right? So if you can buy a 1/4 ounce of gold, bullion, say an Eagle, or you can buy for the same price a $2.50 Indian, I do that. And you should be able to get them even a little bit lower, which is good too. All right, let's see what else you guys have in here real quick. Yeah, the post office. All right, so we're gonna go down here, see if we can walk on this pier. I don't know how dark it's gonna get. It looks like the camera is doing a lot better than the old ones did on making it look brighter than it is. It's actually getting pretty dark. So we'll do this until it doesn't work anymore. But let's talk postal system for a minute here. So I had a bunch of gold and silver coming to my house a couple years ago. And my mailman happens to be someone that was a VP at one of the bigger companies that has magazines that you see at the grocery store. Okay, I'll kind of leave it at that. And he's retired, and his kids made him basically go get a job again. And he was an executive there. I think he managed a couple thousand people. And so we'll have business conversations when he's supposed to be delivering the mail for like 30 minutes out by my mailbox. And a couple times he's come to the house and he's like, oh, what coins did you get? I never told him I had coins or anything. But he knew exactly what it was. He knows that they send them in packages that make it sound like they're hardware parts. He knew they were heavy. And from just about any of the bullion dealers you're going to buy from, they'll insure it in a couple different ways. They usually insure it from, for a certain amount. Maybe, let's say you have $10,000 that you ordered. They might insure it for like $500 with the post office, and then they'll go and insure it for a lot more with London or one of the other big Brinks or whoever you can get a policy with. So, but the reality is anyone that bought it off eBay, I don't have those other options. So typically what happens is you'll end up just paying for more insurance. But I've come to realize it's probably not the best idea. You kind of just have to take faith that the stuff's going to get there, because if you put on there that someone has a $3,000 coin that you're selling to them and has a $3,000 insurance policy on it, they're kind of asking for the thing to get stolen too. So I've kind of wised up to that and had to get a little smarter about what I put out there. Am I going slow-mo, guys? All right, let's see what we got here. I have never spent anything on plastic surgery, guys. That's hilarious. Anyway, I don't drink though. Maybe that's it. So you guys will have to guess my age. Go ahead and guess my age right now. Put down in the chat, how old do you think I am? I'm curious to see what you guys think. All right, so we got some big waves here. Hopefully it's not too loud. We got some stalkers, you know. Just kidding. So that's my postman. So I ended up getting a P.O. box. Now, I don't know that that really helps a whole lot because he's still maybe the guy that ends up sorting the stuff. But for the most part, it goes that way. Every once in a while, if I'm ordering something big enough, it's too much of a pain in the butt to take it to the post office. I have it delivered to the house still. But here's the deal. Here's what I'll tell you guys. So first off, anytime you're ordering online, I think it's really important for you to make sure you're going to be home. You're not going on vacation. You don't want to have your stuff getting sent to your house and have a neighbor come pick it up. If you're never home because you're at work all the time, either have it delivered at work or have it delivered to someone else you trust that can pick it up for you. But outside of that, I also like to buy locally. And if I buy locally, I don't have to worry about shipping anymore. So you've got that option as well. So as you guys know, I work with Andy on coming out and doing videos on the channel. And he's got some great things and options for you guys. So we're going to cover that tomorrow. But if you ever want to get a hold of Miles Franklin, you just email Andy, info@milesfranklin.com, to let him know Stacking Surfer sent you, and they'll give you a price list. If you put your phone number in there, they'll call you. And what's nice about that is when they call you, they're gonna kind of walk through what you're looking for, share the prices with you, see what you guys want to do. And the reason I bring that up is I've also bought a lot from SD Bullion. I've bought some from JM Bullion. I've bought quite a bit from AppMex. I've also bought from, it's been a while, Monument Metals, and I've bought from a couple others that I'm forgetting at the moment. And I have never had any problems with any of the stuff I bought from online bullion dealers. It always comes in good packaging. It arrives when it needs to arrive. I've never had any issues with it. So for me, you know, a lot of the online bullion dealers I go to, where I'm not dealing with someone, it really just comes down to price for a specific item. When I want to deal with someone and I want to try to figure out, okay, is now a good time to be buying more of a certain product, that's when I start looking at things like, you know, talking to Andy or to one of Andy's people, and trying to figure out what we can do from a good price perspective. And so far, I've been very impressed. Sometimes with Andy specifically, it takes a little bit longer just because he's traveling a lot on a lot of shows. So, you know, if you're wanting to do something pretty quickly, it's best to, when you're messaging him, to ask for someone that might be able to help you today or tomorrow. You know, just be specific on it. I have not sold back to him yet, but I do have a few friends that have. And the prices that I've seen are usually better than the other ones out there. For example, we just did Long Beach Coin Show a week ago, a little over a week ago. And, you know, in order for us to sell the metals back at the show to other people, we had to buy them at about 5% behind spot, or back a spot. And that's kind of what happened. If we can sell it at that, which allows us to, we can buy at that, which allows us to make a couple percent points on taking it to a refiner if we need to. And if we're able to find someone there that wants it, we're able to give them a little better price on it too. So oftentimes we're selling at spot or a little bit below it. That's kind of how the premiums work. You're going to find that it changes over time. There's going to be times where there's high premiums. There's going to be times where there's low premiums. So when I first got started back in doing this in the end of 2021, where I started really stacking, I was doing stuff before that. All right, guys, I'm going to show you this real quick. See if you can see over here, but this is Dana Point, and you got the sunset, so that's kind of fun. All right, so when I started stacking, you know, I noticed that the buyback price was at spot, and you were usually buying things for quite a bit over spot. And that's kind of changed now. We've seen the premiums basically completely break down. There's just not a whole lot of them. But that's going to change at some point when more people decide to start going after gold and silver, and they just can't find the physical metals. You're going to start seeing things taking, you know, months to get. So what I'm going to show you guys tomorrow that came from Miles Franklin, I wanted to get a little bit of a different product. The problem is I would have to wait 3 months. I don't want to wait 3 months for it. So waiting 3 months for metals kind of freaks me out a little bit. I don't know about you guys, but I almost feel like it's never going to come. And what if something else happens and it just doesn't show up? So to me, that was a no-go. I went with something a little different. All right, let's see what you guys said. I don't know. You're going to make me feel either really old or young. Let's see what you guys have down here. That's my problem for asking. Okay, we got 47, 49, 52. I think you're 32. Yeah, okay, now you're lying. Definitely not 32. 45, 58, 45, 50. Okay, you guys are fairly close. So I'm going to be 49 in a couple months. And the reason I even bring that up is it's interesting because when I was a kid, my dad had his over the hill party at 40. And I remember us putting that all together and black balloons and all that stuff. And honestly, 40 is not over the hill anymore. We're probably closer to, I don't know, 47 kind of being over the hill. I'm not doing an over the hill party. That's dumb. So maybe that was a thing in the 80s. But, you know, I'm hearing with some of the stuff RFK Jr. may be doing health-wise and helping clean up our water and our food supply, we could end up living to being about 100 to 120 years old on average. And that's got me thinking about my retirement planning because I don't want to work till I'm 90 or 100. Anyway, I don't know how that's all going to work. I sure as heck don't want to live to be 100 or older unless my body's functioning a lot better than someone that's 100 today. How about you guys? But I find that to be interesting. What if all of a sudden we have to plan for a much longer retirement than we were originally planning? I don't know. That's going to kind of freak me out a little bit. Okay, so... Okay, let me see what else you guys have in here. I love it. I think it's funny. Now, what has been freaking me out, though, is, you know, a lot of people I work with have lost their hair. And I've lost a lot of my hair. You guys probably can't tell, but I'm finally getting a little bit of receding hairlines here. And I never thought it was actually happen. I was the kind of guy that would go into the barber and they'd have to get thinning shears out because my hair was so thick, there's no way to style it. And then the pandemic came along and my hair has been kind of messed up since then. And I lose a lot of hair, so I must be growing a fair amount of it. But that's been like one of my superpowers. And I'm kind of freaking out that my hair is starting to thin a lot. But you know, when I get on the phone call with someone that's lost their hair and I feel kind of bad. But I didn't get the height. So without getting the height, I got to get something. Got to at least get hair. All right. So Johnny Bravo cracks me up. Okay. Nick's coin's doing all right. She is, we got a train coming here. It'll be done in just a second. But Nick's coins is doing a lot better. She had some eye issues and she's had to go to Boston a bunch from where she lives in Maine. And I think she's probably pretty recovered after this week. So it's gonna get kind of dark. And I think we might start seeing her on some videos again. Part of what she was undergoing did not allow her to really have a lot of screen time. So for her, it's not great looking at the camera, staring at things for very long, and all of that. And then I think she's gone back to doing some work stuff, so she may be a little bit busier than she has been in the last few months here. But she should be coming back into the community. You guys should start seeing her again. Blame my father. My dad's got a lot of hair too. I don't know if you guys ever saw, I had my dad on for 1 or 2 episodes, maybe a year and a half ago when he was visiting. He was a banker for a long time and also a real estate developer. And I had him on talking about the things to watch out for banks. And we'll probably hit that quite a bit, well, in the near future here, because frankly, there's still a lot of issues with the banks. And no one seems to be caring about any of that stuff right now. But I can tell you the moment the banks start going down, it's going to be very bullish for gold and silver because it's going to create panics. I just don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know what's going to tip them. But the banks are in pretty bad shape. They just don't have a lot of reserves anymore. So, you know, you think when you put your cash into a bank that they're holding your money safe. It's sitting in a bank vault back there where you left it. And the reality is that money gets sent out put into someone else's home as a loan. And so the money's not actually there. And even worse than that, if we go back a few years, they were actually buying a lot of bonds at like 1%. And once the interest rates went up, those bonds became basically worthless. They lost about 4/5 of their value. And so if those banks have a run on them, which can come in many different forms, they just don't have the way of liquidating it. So the Federal Reserve will have to either buy those bonds back for them, or as what they've been doing the last couple of years, is they've allowed them to, on their books, show the same value that they purchased the bonds for, not the value of the bonds themselves today. And that was not the way you could do it back in 2008 when all these banks started collapsing. So I can tell you today, just about every bank would be collapsed if it wasn't for the Fed kind of fudging these rules a little bit. So if you got a lot of cash in the bank, that's something I would be cautious about. I know some of you are on fixed income and you're using cash to support your lifestyle, at least the interest coming off of CDs or maybe even off bonds. But they're becoming more risky than they have in the past. I don't have a great alternative for you right now to get into, but what I can tell you is I would definitely make sure you've got FDIC insurance, you're below the 250, and I would also make sure that you are you got some cash on hand in case you can't get into the banks. We could see a cyber attack. We could see, a bank holiday where there's a run on them. And heaven forbid we see bank bail-ins where they take your money and they just basically give you worthless stock. But that is legal to do now. So anyway, with that said, I still keep money in the bank. I don't have all of it out. It's too much of a pain in the butt to be moving cash in and out all the time. But I do try to keep a decent amount out of the bank just in case. And one of the best ways I do that is gold and silver. So for me, that's been pretty good. All right, let me see if I can increase the brightness of my screen. Okay, that'll make it a little better. You guys can see me a little bit better if I do that. All right, we've got the broke stacker in here. The Bank of ME is closed. Uh-oh, maybe that just happened. Yeah, so the FDIC insurance is about $250,000 or lower, and that is per account, not necessarily Social Security number. At least that's what I've been told. Maybe I'm wrong. If you have a trust, and the trust has 4 beneficiaries on it, and you have it set up the right way, the FDIC insurance will actually cover the $1 million. And I think you can go up to 5 people on a trust and get it up to $1,250,000. But not financial advice. You definitely got to check with your bank and make sure you have, you got that stuff down right. The bigger issue with the FDIC is that it's around like $250 billion that they have in their fund right now for the FDIC, and that's shoring up over $11 trillion in deposits. So if we have any kind of massive, bank runs or bank failures, that money may not all be there. And that doesn't mean you're not going to get your money. It just means the federal government may actually have to use taxpayer dollars to bail out everybody else. So that's something to be aware of. If we have a big cyber attack where they zero out, like say everybody that has Bank of America accounts, then you got a bigger problem, because unless you're keeping paper records, there's going to be no way to even claim what you had in there. And that's something that I don't think they even have an idea what they would do for it. So there's the water coming up. It's pretty high tide. And but that's enough on that stuff. I wouldn't overly freak out about it, but just know that what you don't have in your possession, it's always at somewhat of a risk because of third-party risks to it. The other thing I do want to say, though, real quick, is safety deposit boxes. I keep hearing from people on the channel saying that's where they put their gold and silver. Don't do that. That's the worst place you can put it. It's better to put it like in some socks or in a cereal box in your pantry. The safety deposit boxes do not guarantee what's in them. Go read your fine print. If you find it otherwise, I'd be very curious, because that's not what I've seen. They don't guarantee the contents. They don't guarantee the value of it. They don't guarantee that you'll get it back. So anything you put in a safety deposit box, you need to make sure you have a copy of it somewhere else. And I wouldn't be putting any kind of collectibles, jewelry, gold, silver, or even cash. If you put cash in there, it is not FDIC insured, by the way. So there's no reason to be putting cash there. If you're doing that, so it's kind of out of the bank teller and you know that you have it for sure, go get a home safe. And what I recommend looking for is a safe that's at least $1,000. That's where you start to get a little bit of safety, features on it. It'll be harder for someone that isn't a thief to get into it. But unless you're in the $5,000 plus range for a security safe, you're really not going to stop the criminals from getting into it. So you also want to make sure it's the right size that you can hide it somewhere in your house. And I've got a video on that too that you guys can go look at that talks about safes. I'll try to see if I can link that here. All right. Yeah, $1,900 is a decent price. Anything under 1,000 or off of Amazon is not good. Is Chef Stacker LA on here? Sweet. So he's the other guy we were doing our booth with. I did it with him and OC Stacker and a couple other people. Sorry, it's really dark here, but we have a sliver of a moon tonight, so there's not a lot of sunshine or moonlight. And I'm hoping I'm going to be able to make it around this point here without having to get totally soaking wet. But the tide's coming up high. So let's talk about gold and silver right now. I am buying. Last weekend I bought some constitutional silver at $20.50 per face, and that's a great price. I'm hoping that we can find more amounts of that and be able to offer it to people on the channel. So if I can pull that off with Chef Stacker and OC Stacker, we're going to try to do some kind of a buying club with you guys and help you guys be able to buy stuff at a good price. Now, we're not coin shops. We're not holding a ton of inventory. So if we do it, it's going to be something that is based on whatever product we're able to get our hands on. And we're going to have to move it pretty fast because we also don't have a bunch of capital to sit on stuff. Or it's going to be going to the refinery. So if you guys have interest in that, send me an email, leave a comment. Just say buying club. If you guys have interest in that, we can do something like that. But it's going to be, honestly, to make it work for you and for us, It's probably going to be buying like tubes of dimes. So it won't be buying like a couple quarters at a time or an eagle or two at a time. It'll probably be buying tubes of eagles, tubes of dimes. If we go below that, it really doesn't make it economical for us. To get the price that you guys want, we're making like 10 cents off of sending it off to you guys. We can't justify the time to do that. We do want to help you as much as we can, though. But anyway, the show was awesome. We always have the best booth. And for that reason, we have a lot of these guys that are not okay with us coming to the other coin shows around here. And we're trying to get into them, but I think they see us as major competition. And part of that is just due to the fact that we're selling like crazy and we're buying like crazy. And you don't get to sit down. Like, I think I got there at 9 o'clock on Saturday, and we didn't leave until 5. Not a single time did I get to sit down. I had to take a break and tell people to hold for a second just to take some drinks, and then I had to shove a granola bar in my mouth for a little bit and eat that thing. But it was nonstop people. So, the key with all of this stuff is enjoy what you're doing, love what you buy. Don't overthink it. I caution on getting too many SKUs of things. But, if you're buying rounds and you're paying generic prices for it, that's fine. Just put them in a tube together. But, don't go too crazy trying to chase everything. You can spend all your time trying to save $1. It's kind of that saying that says, don't step over dollars to pick up pennies. So just be careful about that, but also watch the markets. Today's up, Sunday was down. Watch what's going on with crypto. Gold and silver tend to go opposite of crypto and opposite of some of the market moves. What's happening tomorrow? So President Trump has said that he's going to bring the tariffs in tomorrow, 25% across the board for Canada and Mexico. We have not heard of any kind of exemption for silver or gold. So as of right now, that means that gold and silver from those two countries is going up. And guess where we get most of our silver to make silver eagles? So that's going to be interesting. I would expect you're going to start to see silver prices go up if those tariffs stay on for a while. And you're probably going to see Maple Leafs and Libertads go up in price. If you love those, you might want to grab a few of those before they do jump up. And if the price does jump up and you want to sell those and buy Eagles and there's a big price difference, might not be a bad time to do it. At some point, I imagine we'll have, lower tariffs on metals. It's going to take 5 to 10 years to spin up silver mines in our own country. And this might be why you hear Donald Trump talking about Canada being the 51st state and other things along those lines. All right, so we got a few of you guys still in here. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. You just double tap the screen right there. See you, Richard. So anyway, that's what I've been up to. I've been buying a little bit. I've sold a little bit. And one of these days, I'm going to take my 12-ounce solid silver golf ball. I'm going to go play some golf with it. I think that might be kind of fun. I don't know what it's going to do to my clubs, though. So I think I'll use some junky ones. But I think it would be fun. I'm not going to be able to hit that very far, so we're not going to be driving with it. But we could putt with it. I don't know how well it's going to chip. But I'm going to try to do a little bit of that. I think that'd be kind of fun on the video. So tomorrow, tariffs. I do think that's going to affect the market a bit. That's why you saw the cryptos taking a little bit of a dive today. That's why you saw the stock market taking a hit. It's not just the tariffs, it's the worry of what the tariffs might do and how they may affect things. Full set with the 9-iron. I don't know. I also don't want to screw up my golf ball. But I don't know, maybe I'll wrap it. Maybe I'll wrap it in like some cellophane so so it doesn't get too jacked up. But I'm pretty sure it's going to mess up my golf clubs. So my son hasn't been playing as much lately. Maybe I'll take his clubs, kind of like some starter clubs. But I don't know. I'm interested to see what's going to happen tomorrow. You know, it seems like every time I buy gold and silver, the price goes down a couple days later. Even when I feel like I'm buying at the bottom. So, you know, if you feel like that, don't fret. It's kind of how it goes. I really don't think we're going to see silver at $18 or gold at $1,800 unless we have an everything crash. And if we do have an everything crash, people, that's what your emergency fund is for, okay? I recommend having 3 months worth of cash around, okay? If you have 3 months of cash, and what do I mean by that? It's 3 months worth of expenses, okay, for you to pay. So you're not including tithing in it. If you tithe your money, you're not including taxes in it. You're just looking at your bare minimum of what you need to do to survive. And then I like to have food supply too. So if things get really bad, we get a big crash, I might be using a little bit of my food supply, some of my emergency cash if anything happens with the job. Otherwise, I'm just going to pull back on my spending. And that's where we start to get some, recessionary pressures big time, right? If all of a sudden everybody pulls back and cancels their Netflix or cancels their HBO or cable, if you stop going out to get a Starbucks coffee, or you flat out stop going to eat outside. This is so dark, guys. There are some other people walking by me, but they're not following me. I'm following them. I'm the creepy guy with a selfie stick on the beach. Anyway, so you want to have that stuff so you're not forced to sell your gold and silver, because what's going to happen is your gold and silver is going to take a pretty good dive if we get an everything crash, but then it's going to be the first thing to bob up to the top, and it's going to take off. So if we get an everything crash, I can guarantee you that there's going to be money printing going on. There's going to be quantitative easing going on. They're going to try to put a ton of liquidity back in the market to start it back up. And that money finds a home, and gold and silver is one of the best places that it goes to right off the bat. At least historically it has. So if we get in a situation like that, I want you to be prepared so that you don't end up having to sell your gold and silver at the bottom of the market. And I can't tell you that's for sure going to happen. If I knew for sure it was going to happen, then I would probably have more than 3 months of cash laying around. But, you know, that's what your gold and silver is there for, too. It's also there to be a savings and also a way for you to provide for yourself if things get crazy. So this got really dark. Sorry, guys. What questions do you have for me? I've got probably another maybe 5 or 10 minutes here of walking, and then I'm going to be jumping in the car. You guys have any questions for me on anything? I'm pretty well read on a lot of stuff. I'm hearing tomorrow rumors that we may be pulling out of NATO. That's interesting. So President Trump has a speech to the joint session of Congress, I believe. And we could hear something along the lines of we're pulling out of NATO. And that would be interesting. I personally, I'm not a fan of NATO or the UN. Any kind of an organization that puts us in a position where we may have to be pulled into a war because of another country is not something that I'm keen on. The founding fathers were not keen on that either. Doesn't mean we don't help people. It doesn't mean we don't have allies. But to have a, I forget what kind of a treaty you call that. It's more of a pact. But to have a pact can be scary because you don't know what those other countries are going to do, who they're going to elect, and what kind of situation they can put you in. So you never want to be forced into something crazy like that. All right, let me see if you guys have any questions for me. The hair is shining. Oh my gosh. Yeah, maybe we should get some glow sticks. I don't know. I don't plan on coming out this late all the time. I mean, I'll probably be doing some shows this late in the summertime when it's better. Let's see. So I'll tell you what I'm doing with silver and gold right now. Gold, I'm trying to go more to just gold eagles and buffaloes. So I've been selling most of my British gold, and I've been selling most of my like Krugerrands, or I should say I'm trading them. So I'm not really selling them, I'm just trading them to a different coin. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is I have this belief in my head. It may not be a correct belief, but I have a belief in my head that if I have American gold, it's going to be exempt from income tax or capital gains tax. And I don't know that that's really going to happen for sure, but there's enough of a belief that that could happen that I'm kind of thinking that it's worth, doing a little bit of trading. So I'm not doing anything crazy with it, but if I can spend an extra 25 or 30 bucks and get an eagle or a buffalo over a Krugerrand, I'm doing that. So that's one thing I'm looking at. As far as silver goes, my wife doesn't want me to have a bunch of coins laying around, and she doesn't want a big stack of coins. So if there's a time where she's going to outlive me or have to use some of these, I'm reducing the number of different kinds of coins I have and trying to get them to be more uniform. So I am selling coins that I maybe bought for 40, 45 bucks. I'm selling those and I'm buying silver eagles with them, with that money. I do have a fair amount of rounds, and I'm okay with the rounds I have. But right now I'm looking more at the silver eagles because those may also have the tax ramifications. Now, a lot of you guys are thinking, surfer, just go surfing and lose all your silver and gold in the ocean or in a boating accident. And yeah, you can do that, but it depends on how much money you're dealing with, right? If you can get enough silver that you have things like monster boxes, or you have tubes of silver, or you've got, a bunch of 100-ounce bars. If you have an event where you need to sell a bunch of that at one time, it gets a lot harder, especially if you can't go buy something else with cash. You've got to take everything through the right channels. And I always recommend that you do go through the right channels. This isn't about trying to figure out how to evade taxes. What I'm saying is, sometimes it's hard to remember what you did if it's a small transaction, but when you're doing larger transactions, it's a lot more obvious, and you need to be a lot more careful with it. But anytime you're buying anytime you're selling, talk to your tax accountants and get their advice. I can't give you the advice on what to do with that, but I can tell you that if you're trying to take more than $10,000 at a time at the bank, you're going to trigger all kinds of alarms off. So, I've talked to people here in LA that have had $350,000 of silver, and they wanted to liquidate it a couple of years ago when silver was down around 20 bucks. And, part of the problem they're running into is they didn't want cash. They wanted their money in the bank. And in order to do that kind of a large transaction, it's going to cost, quite a bit more to move that. And then people are going to have checks, and then they're going to be paying taxes on all that stuff. You can't have $350,000 go in your bank account and not have that trigger anything, even with a check. So, in those cases, I think having the American gold and silver could be really good. I love 90% silver for bartering and for SHTF. And if I can buy it pretty inexpensively, I'll do that. A lot of my constitutional silver, I bought at $16.50 per face. Some I bought at $18. Recently, I bought it at $20.50. And I did buy a little bit at $22. So for me, going much over that is hard for me to do in the current market. But if we see silver going, quite a bit over 40 bucks, we're never going to see those prices again, not even on 90% silver. So Anyway, that's what I'm doing on the silver front. On the gold front, I really only do 2 different sizes. I do 1 ounce coins and I do 10th ounce coins. I avoid bars as much as I can in the 1 ounce size. Now, if I'm able to get my businesses humming well enough and my day job stock takes off and I end up with a bunch of money, I would be tempted to go and buy, make sure no one's behind me. I'd be tempted to go and buy, 5 and 10 ounce gold bars because you're going to get the most bang for your buck doing that. But then again, you're also not buying American gold, and you're running the risk of having to unload something like that that could be a lot more pricey, and you'd have a bigger tax ramification when you do that. I mean, let's say I was listening to Gold and Silver, so Mike Maloney's channel today, and he was talking about if gold got revalued to $5,000, they'd have enough money to pay off the debt. And I was like, no, those numbers don't match up. You have to be like at 50,000. But then he was basically saying, what if, actually that wasn't him. That was, that was a different video. He had a good video that came out today with a lot of charts. But there's another person that had a video out with Gerald Celente on it. And Gerald Celente was saying that. He said, I think they're going to open up Fort Knox and there's going to be way more gold than anybody's expecting in there. And then they're going to revalue it to $5,000 and we're going to be able to pay off all the debt with it. I don't know, maybe. But that'd have to be a lot of gold in there. A lot more than we're expecting. Okay, I got to get up off of this berm. Ugh. All right, I can't believe there's 40 people watching this. You can't even see my face. It's so dark. But at least I got you guys live with me, so if anybody took me out, you'd be able to report it to the police. I didn't expect it to get this dark tonight. But look at that. I mean, could you imagine being on a boat out there and your electricity goes out and, man, it's freaking dark. Okay, so here's a little mural someone put up here, San Clemente. It's backwards. These cameras don't let you go the other direction. So when you're watching me doing this, my face is actually the opposite of what you're seeing, which is kind of funny. But we got these bonfires people come down and do too. I don't know if you can see that. So it's pretty fun. So I need to talk to a few special guests, but I'm working on doing a big channel party. So the 10,000 subscriber party, giveaways, as well as my 2-year anniversary of the channel, which is going to be March 24th. So I'm trying to see if I can swing that day. I've got to get a hold of a few people. And if we can, we're going to do a 2 to 3 hour live stream, which will be really fun. I will give out a Drew Brophy 1 ounce silver surfboard from PAMP. And then I'm hoping that we'll get a few other stackers that want to make some donations for the party. And then I'm hoping to have a handful of people. Sorry, what is that doing? Come over here. A handful of people that are stackers that have channels to come on and, share their stories a little bit with you and do this. Like I said at the beginning of this thing, so much of this is about community, guys. It's what's different about doing the stacking channel versus just a stock or a crypto channel. Most of the stock and crypto channel guys are just trying to make as much money as they can. So it's all about making profits and getting rich. This isn't about rich. This is about building a community and trying to maintain the level of wealth we have, also grow it. But it's much more about community and helping each other. Those other ones are less about community. They're really much more about, look at that, I snuck into a car. They're really much more about just, making crazy profits. Let's see if you guys can see my face now. Okay, there you go. So anyway, that's kind of how it goes sometimes. I'd love to hear from you guys on videos too. I'm going to be working on a couple other videos coming out. Every once in a while, there's going to be a video that kind of shares it with a promotion. I know a lot of you guys complained about that. But I got to find some way to support the channel. My wife will not let me eat money anymore on doing the channel. She's like, you got to stop spending all your money on this. You got to at least break even or make a little bit of cash on it. So instead of asking you guys to all go sign up for a big membership or pay a bunch of fees, we got to do some sponsor videos every once in a while. So if a few of those are going to come out, please give it a thumbs up. If it gets annoying, you don't want to watch the whole thing, fine, don't do it. But just know that when people do that, even on big channels, we're not doing these things to try to persuade you. We're doing these things to help support what we're trying to do and making this as free as we can for you guys. So anything that you ever see that's promotion, any guest that comes on, they're people and things or companies that we've done some vetting on and we feel like they're at least worth looking at. You know, I'm never going to come and tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you what you should do and all that stuff, but know that some of that's going to happen. Who's in the back seat? Don't even say. That's a person walking back there. Oh my gosh, that'd be crazy. Yeah, if you see a cord going across my neck, then we got problems. But I live in this is a pretty good place. The only time you really run into any issues here is in the past, we've had a few times where we have big homeless encampments down here in the parking lot, and those guys freak out. What I can tell you the homeless don't like is when you take a drone and you drop it above their head, 4 feet above them where they can't jump, and you'd let it just hover. They didn't appreciate that very much. That was probably kind of mean to do. And I didn't really try to taunt them. It kind of happened. I was kind of hovering above them, and then I stopped, and then all of a sudden they were freaking out and swearing at it. But there you go. So I don't share the bank that my dad worked at because it's a family bank, and I try to keep a little bit of privacy on the name, but it was a big one, and it did go down. So I know a few things about banking, and unfortunately we got hammered. And the sad thing is I really try to get my family to diversify. I guess the good thing is we never really used the money because it was just in the company. We didn't really borrow against it. We didn't go do lavish things, even though there was a lot of money that was on paper. So I've even had that in my past too. I was close to retiring at age 32 on paper with a bunch of real estate I had and other investments. And then 2008 came and just wiped, probably 80% of that gone, which is too bad. But, the reality of all of this stuff is it's about trying to get yourself to a point where you can have some financial freedom. And then from there, being able to completely take yourself out of any situation you don't want to be in. So what some people will call it is FU money. Okay, that's the closest I'm going to say to saying that on the channel. When you get to the point where you have enough money coming in and enough savings that you can tell your boss that you're not coming in anymore and you're done, that's a great place to be in. I've been there before, and I've been an entrepreneur, and I've done a lot of my own stuff. And when I got hammered, we got so beat up that we had to I had to basically go back to work. And that's one of the things that is good about education. I had a master's degree from a top university. And so going back to work, I'm one of the top people they would consider, and we were able to do that. The downside of it is I've got to go to places like, not that Boston's bad, but I've got to go when they tell me to go to certain places and go visit other areas and be away from my family when I don't necessarily want to be away from my family. But then you get other bonuses like free flights and hotel points and all that kind of stuff. So, life is like that. But my recommendation for right now that I'll kind of throw out there, it's not financial advice, it's just my recommendation. Right now, I think we're kind of at a pivot point. I think it's important to be watching as many videos as you can about gold and silver, a little bit about the stock market, a little bit about crypto, even if you don't like crypto or you don't want to buy it. It's the understanding of what the market's doing and where it's moving. So the president's just come out and said he's going to do a strategic reserve with ADA, Solana, XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin. I think those are the main ones he mentioned. He may even put more of them in there. So as far as we know, the government only has Bitcoin, which means they're going to have to buy that other stuff. So that's at least kind of bullish for those things. If you hate crypto, that's okay. I know a lot of people look at it as gambling, but if you do it right, and you understand what you're doing and you can research it, or you've got some other people that can help you with it, it's not a complete gamble. It's in a lot of times it's not all that dissimilar to, buying, growth stocks, tech stocks. And you may say, well, the tech stocks have a company, they have a product and the service they do, and that's true. However, so do a lot of these cryptocurrencies. And if they don't, you're probably looking at a meme coin, which is really total hype. And that is like gambling completely. And if you don't do the research on the companies, and if you're not learning about them, and if you don't believe in their projects, then you're also gambling in a lot of ways. And it's the same thing if you just throw money at different stocks on the stock market and you have no idea how the business runs. So I say look at those things, kind of understand things a little bit more. But watch those markets. Watch what the president's putting on X. If you guys aren't on X or on Twitter, go and do that. I usually repost a lot of good stuff. You can go follow my account there. And there's some great people that I repost their charts, as well as I'll make a lot of comments on Bitcoin and other stuff. I don't hate it, but I like to troll people a little bit because it's a little bit fun. So a lot of people are very naive when it comes to Bitcoin, and they think that it is going to solve all the world's problems and that it is some kind of magical coin out there. And the reality is it has a long way to go. It's a very immature financial instrument. Can you make a lot of money from it? Yeah, you can. Can you lose a lot of money from it? Yeah, you can. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you have problems. And when people come on and say that it's a perfect money, it's a perfect coin, stuff like that, I don't know. I like to get in a little bit of a conversation with them about it. But know those things, kind of know what's going on with the market, because it is going to affect the price of gold and silver. I mean, we saw gold and silver up today and crypto was down, and we had the opposite yesterday. So I'm going to head off now, guys. I want to thank you all for coming in. And Ken She's in here too. Make your money when things are immature. You can make huge amounts of money. So when you do a tech startup and you get into at the beginning, that's where you can make your biggest money. But I got to tell you, out of like 10 companies I've been involved in with starting, only 3 of them have taken off. One of them we had a big exit on. One of them we had to kind of walk away from, and the other one had an okay exit. And so a lot of times when you're doing that, you got to kind of spread it around. Putting all your eggs in one basket when it's immature is risky. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it can be really risky. But anyway, what I throw out there right now is keep your eye on silver, keep your eye on gold, watch the cryptos to see what's happening, watch the stock market to see what's happening, watch the news on the tariffs. President Trump's going to be coming out doing some announcements tomorrow, so see what ends up happening with that. We hear that the tariffs are going to be flat across at 25%. If that hits, why are the firemen coming to the dude's fire? Get out of control. Look at this. Or do they just do that every time they want to park backwards? I don't know. Anyway, watch for the tariff stuff, because if he starts to exempt things like gold and silver, that's an indicator of we're planning on doing things right. Keep watching the news on the gold that's coming over from the UK to from London to the United States. There's some things going on there. We're going to be hearing more about audits around the gold and silver. And based on all of that, I think we're going to start to find out a little bit more about what the plan is and how it's going to affect stuff. And you can't time the market, guys. You're not going to be able to buy the bottoms and sell at the tops. You're always going to buy after the bottoms start going up and after the tops start going down. That's usually what ends up happening. So, have a deep stack. If you're trying to invest a little bit, have that. But know the gold and silver takes time to go up. So you're not going to be looking for any quick flips. If you want a quick flip and you want to make money, look at cryptos, look at something else. It's not going to usually happen in gold and silver. Unless you're OC Stacker. He's the only one that I know knows how to flip stuff real quick. He's on here. All right, let me just see if you had any quick questions, and I'm going to go. So Richard bought a bunch of gold and silver today. That's pretty cool. Hi, Al. How's the port? Kenshi, come on, don't be like that. Kenshi's our favorite troll on here. One of these days, Kenshi is going to tell you all about all the silver he has. I think he's got a lot of silver. I think he's got a lot of gold. I think he's got maybe some cars. I don't know if they're his or his parents, but I don't know how old he is either. But I know people that were destitute, and then all of a sudden with Bitcoin, They got to the point where they bought everybody a Lamborghini in their company. That's just not how I roll. That's too much up and down for me. I'd have a heart attack and die. So I don't go that way for it. But he has a silver Lambo. It's wrapped in chrome. Oh gosh. All right, Kenchi, send me a picture of it at stackingsurfer@gmail.com, man. I want to see your Bitcoin, your orange Bitcoin logo on that. All right, guys, until next time, peace out, and thank you for stopping by.